Welcome to our FI webinar series. We are very excited to have you all here today. My name is Vasquez del Solar. I'm the Head of Business Development and Partnerships at SocialNet Foundation. I will be your host and moderator today. So before we start, I would like to take a moment to remind you to follow us on social media. You can find us on Twitter, LinkedIn, and Facebook. So, to get started, I would like to introduce you to Margarita Albors. Margarita is the president of the SocialNet Foundation, and she will share with us a few words about our work and the FI platform that we lead. Margarita, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Monica. 6 years ago, I met a woman in Spain who had just received a significant inheritance. She told me she wanted to use part of it to benefit the two groups of people she cared most about: the children and the elderly. Her family has traditionally done philanthropy, but she had the idea of using this capital in a different way, in a way so that she could support innovative projects and after some time could get the money back and with this same money support other projects. But she didn't know if it was even possible or just a crazy idea of hers. Just some weeks later, the manager of a family office contacted us as well because his client had told him he wanted to use his capital in a more positive way and had told him to do some research about what he could do. But this manager had no idea about the possibilities he could offer his client, and he was looking for some advice. After them, we met many more people with the same interest in aligning their capital with their values. And we realized that although they may have this appetite, they needed to learn how to do it and find out the possibilities they had to actually doing it. So with this goal of facilitating the path to those asset owners and managers willing to contribute to a positive impact through investing, we at SocialNet Foundation decided 4 years ago to launch FI, a global platform to educate, inspire, connect and show opportunities of investment to those decision makers, like institutional investors, corporates, foundations, and individuals and family offices, so they could align their resources with their values and therefore mobilize more capital to the causes of their concern and contribute to a better society and the planet. I am thrilled about today's event because we have two wonderful people like Sam Bonsey and Maria Angeles Leon, who represent two clear examples of families generating positive impact through investing. I am sure through their experience you will learn a lot and get inspired on how to start or even continue your path in this field. My amazing team and I thank you for your time and your attention and hope you enjoy this FI series dedicated to individuals and family offices. And we invite you to join us in our FI Annual Forum, which will take place virtually next September. I am looking forward to meet you there. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Margarita, for setting the stage and introduce this important episode. So, family offices and individuals have played an important role on mobilizing capital towards impact investing. Because of that, in this series, we are going to reveal the impact investing journey of a great impact investor. He has several years of experience allocating capital across a diverse spectrum of strategies. So, I'm delighted to introduce you to Sam Bonsey. Sam is the Executive Director of the Impact, a global network of families committed to make more impact investments more effectively. Sam has also experience in his own family office, Keller Enterprises, being part of the board of directors and the investment committee. So Sam is going to tell us how families engage in impact investing, what their motivations and concerns are, and what are the most used strategies to align capital with values. He will also share with us some recommendations to families and investors to engage in the impact investing path. So, Sam, we are very happy to have you here. The floor is yours.
Hello, everybody. Good afternoon. It's a delight to be with you here today. I'm Sam Bonsey, Executive Director of The Impact. The Impact is a global community of families who are committed to aligning their assets with their values. Our mission is to help families make more impact investments, and do so more effectively. So we have spent the last 8 years as an organization supporting families in our network to envision, develop, and implement and iterate on their impact investing strategies. And I have come to this work with the impact really from the experience of my own family. We have spent the last 14 years as a family building our own impact investment strategy within our family office. And I've spent the last 10 years building my own personal impact investing portfolio as well. And when we talk about impact investing at the Impact, what we're talking about is the practice of incorporating social and environmental factors into investment decisions. And that can take many shapes and forms. It can mean using investment as a tool to address the sustainable development goals, for example. It also can mean investing in a way that recognizes how social and environmental megatrends like climate change and inequality are going to affect the financial reality of just about every company in the world. So over the last 8 years that we've been doing our work at the Impact, we have identified a common set of critical actions that families typically take as they go through the process of envisioning, building, and iterating over time on their impact investment strategies. And we have a framework of 10 actions that we use to support families. And today I want to share 4 of those with you. And I'm going to use my own family as a case study to illustrate what it can look like for a family to take those actions. And one thing I want to emphasize is that this is never a clear or linear process for families. For most of us, it is messy and it is iterative. And that's okay. And that's why we think it's so valuable to be a part of a supportive community of peers who are working through the same issues and can provide guidance and support along the journey. So the first action that we have identified for families is to define the guiding lights of their impact investing strategy. And the guiding lights are the family's mission or values or beliefs that establish why the family is interested in impact investing. And these guiding lights also shape how a family and services were solving the toughest social and environmental challenges were the companies who were best positioned to create significant value, economic value in the long term. So for us, in many ways, impact investing just seems like a better some of the social and environmental issues that we care most about as a family could only be addressed if we mobilize private capital alongside philanthropic and government resources. And so we felt like we needed to be using investing as a tool, not just for the purpose of making as much money as possible in the long term, but instead using investing as a tool for the purpose of developing and scaling solutions to the problems that we cared most about. The third guiding light for us was a very strong shared sense within our family that we wanted to make investments that were aligned with our family values. And we went through a process to collectively, explicitly define our values and what they meant to us. And a few which still stand out to me today are courage and industriousness. We wanted to take risks as a family, especially when it came to creating value and opportunity for the communities that we cared about. And we also wanted to be a part of building things, building new businesses, continuing our family's multi-generational entrepreneurial legacy. And another value that has really shaped our investment strategy is transparency. We wanted to invest in companies or in partners who we understood, who were open and honest, and who were doing work that we would be proud to share with others. So first action for us and for many families was defining the beliefs, the mission, and the values that would guide our investments over time. The second action I want to highlight is the creation of a well-defined impact investment strategy. So when families build a conventional or non-impact investment strategy, the best practice is to work through a process of defining your investment objectives as a family, what your financial return goals are, what your risk tolerance is, and also what constraints are shaping the investments, such as your time horizon or your liquidity needs. Impact investing is no different. And some families approach impact investing as a kind of different sport from conventional investing with less rigorous rules or standards. To us at the Impact, nothing could be further from the truth. For many of us, impact investing is actually about raising the standards of investment, not lowering them. And so to raise the standard of investment, we need to have well-defined strategies, well-defined investment policies, which are guiding our investments. That means we have to be clear about the social and environmental objectives that we're using to inspire our investments, just as we're clear about the financial objectives. And we have to understand our risk tolerance with our impact investments, whether, for example, we are comfortable taking more risk in order to create the social and environmental impact that we seek. We also have to understand the liquidity profiles of the impact investments we are making and how they fit into the broader financial needs or the broader investment portfolio of the family. And all of that helps us understand what asset classes, what sectors of impact investment are going to be the best fit for us as a family based on our specific impact objectives and based on our financial needs and the relationship between the two. And I want to emphasize that our family's guiding lights, again, the mission, the values, the beliefs, really shape the specific impact objectives or constraints that a family will set. And so the clearer a family can be about why they want to make investments, what motivations are driving them into the market, the clearer they can be in the definition of their investment strategy. So what did this look like for us as a family? First, in terms of our impact objectives, we were very clear that we wanted to be investing in climate solutions. We're deeply concerned about climate change, of course, as a family, and we wanted to be supporting businesses that were trying to develop technologies to address our changing climate. We also have a long history in agriculture, in farming, and we felt a very strong sense of mission to help build a local sustainable food system in the deep southern states of the United States, where we are from as a family. These were the issues: climate solutions, building a local sustainable food system that best reflected the shared interests of our family. For our financial objectives, for most of our family investment portfolio, we wanted to maintain a strong long-term growth target. But we were willing in certain portions of the portfolio to be flexible on our financial goals in order to accomplish our impact objectives. And so that means we wanted to make some impact investments that were designed to generate market rates of financial return. And in other places, we were willing to make and very interested to make impact investments that could generate what some people would refer to as concessionary impact investment returns. We were willing to be flexible on the returns that we would generate. We have a very long-term investment horizon. We're a multi-generational family. We want to continue to invest in that way. And our values of courage and industriousness very clearly pointed us in the direction of making entrepreneurial investments, making early stage direct investments in growing companies. But we wanted to balance those early stage direct investments with less risky, more stable asset classes, such as sustainable real assets and investments in funds through partners who shared our values. And for all of our investments, we wanted them to be clearly aligned with our values, and we wanted as many of our investments as possible to be directly addressing the specific social issues of climate change and food systems that we cared deeply about. Again, we wanted to maintain strong growth for the portfolio, but also we were ready to be flexible on the financial returns for specific investments in order to accomplish our impact objectives. So that very quickly gives you a sense of the strategy that we set as a family. The third action I want to highlight is the work of actually building a diversified portfolio of impact investments. And I want to be clear again, coming back to my original point, that this sounds like a linear process, but it is definitely not. So as a family, we did not set our strategy before we started building our portfolio. We started making investments, learning from those investments, and channeling those learnings back into the work of defining an explicit strategy. So again, this is iterative and it can get messy. For us and for our the climate focus that we wanted to set for our portfolio, the work of building that portfolio really began first with divesting from our legacy assets, our legacy family businesses, which were in, as what we politely call, extractive industries. And we wanted to channel the proceeds from that into, again, making early stage direct investments in renewable energy and clean technology and sustainable real assets. We also invested in some fund managers who were developing very rigorous investment strategies, incorporating environmental and social and governance factors into their investment decisions. For our investment portfolio focused on building a local regenerative food system in the southern part of the US, we have been building actually our own low profit agricultural business and investing in other small businesses in our region. So again, these are very different kinds of investments than what we're doing in our climate focused portfolio, for example. We're making these investments in companies around us, again, in the work of building a local food system. We're also, at the same time, giving grants and doing policy work. And we really see it as necessary to be doing all three of those simultaneously in order to accomplish our impact objectives. And our goal for the financial investments that we are making isn't to generate the best return, but we think that investing in businesses that are doing this work is actually a very necessary part, a necessary part of the solution, again, to build a local and regenerative food system. In every case, we have really relied on our networks, both as a family and the networks, the communities that we have joined, in order to get access to the pipeline of investments that we need to build our portfolios. This would have been an almost impossible thing for us to try to do on our own. And again, we've been very focused on learning as we go. We make investments, sometimes they work, sometimes they fail. we channel those learnings back into the work of refining our strategy over time, with the hope that we can get continually smarter at everything we're trying to do to, again, envision, develop, and implement our impact investment strategy. The last action that I want to highlight is the importance of giving back to the impact ecosystem. Organizations like Social Nest, gatherings like this one, networks like the Impact, the incubators and accelerators that are helping start new businesses or support new fund managers in the impact investing market, training programs for wealth managers, research at universities looking at the cutting edge of the relationship between social and environmental factors and the financial performance of companies. These are all indispensable elements of the broader impact ecosystem that sustain the marketplace of investments where we ultimately go to deploy capital. And we need all of the components of this ecosystem to thrive in order to ensure that any of us has actually a steady supply of really compelling investments to make. It's the ecosystem that makes it possible for new companies to be born, new fund managers to get their start, new families who are new to the impact investing world to deploy their first investment, new measurement tools to be developed, new technologies that can, again, help scale solutions to our toughest social and environmental problems. None of that can happen without a thriving impact ecosystem. And so those of us who are benefiting from that have, I think, a special opportunity to give back to it, to help it grow and to help it thrive. So those, again, are just 4 of the essential actions that we focus on at the Impact in order to help families envision, design, and implement their impact investing strategies. And it's never a clear and linear process, but it's so essential that families just get started, get moving, build momentum, and share what they're learning with others and work collaboratively to help build the space. So thank you very much for being here.
Thank you so much, Sam, for such an insightful presentation. So now I would like to ask you some questions. I would like to start by learning from you, how do you think that family offices and individuals might unlock capital towards the most innovative and scalable solutions, business solutions, especially at the early stage? Could you share some ideas about that?
Yes. Well, I think that families are really uniquely positioned to play an essential role in helping early stage companies scale and also early stage fund managers scale as well. And there is a very, very long history of this, of course, both in the impact investing market, but also in the conventional market. And of all the different asset owner types in the world, families have the most flexibility, the greatest ability to be nimble, to be agile, and to invest in things that have not yet scaled. A pension fund cannot make a direct investment into an early stage company. A family can. So we really need families to step up to provide that capital in order to help businesses and also help, for example, first-time funds build their track record and scale. And this, again, is a great way for families to support the impact investing ecosystem as a whole. It can also be a very, very good financial way for families to invest. We have had some wonderful success in our own family with the early stage investments that we've made. We've also had some failures, and and learned a lot of lessons. But we as a family have found it to be a wonderful way to continue the entrepreneurial legacy of the family, to stay engaged in the work of building and creating businesses. And again, it's also, it's been great financially, and it's been a wonderful connective experience for us as a family as well.
Great, thank you so much for your response. As believers of impact investing, as we are get that impact investing is the best way to combine philanthropic objectives with financial goals. However, out there are a lot of investors who are skeptical about this combination is possible. What would you say to them, to this skeptical about the sector?
Well, I think for me, I start with what I believe is a very simple and important reality, which is that every company in the world creates significant social and environmental impact. And that impact might be positive, it might be negative, but every company in the world is creating impact. So there are always social and environmental effects or social and environmental consequences to any investment that we make, whether or not we as investors are intending to generate specific positive social and environmental impact. So we are always having social and environmental impact with our investments. It's just a question of whether we are being intentional and aware of the impact that we are creating. And I also try to remind myself always that investing is a tool, and traditionally families have used investing as a tool to make more money with the money they already have. It's a means to that. Investing is a means to an end. And in the process of investing to make more money, we are also having social and environmental impact. Again, whether or not we are being intentional about what that impact is. So now I see the impact investing is really about the work of becoming aware of what's already happening, the reality that all of our investments are creating impact, and being intentional and saying, okay, we're now going to use investing as a tool for multiple goals rather than just the single goal of using money to make more money.
Great answer. I think that this approach of the several kind of impact that can happen because the investment of family offices is very important. So do you think that there are some characteristics that family offices that invest in impact investing or that are doing impact investing have in common?
Sorry, could you repeat the question?
Yeah. Do you think that there are some common characteristics that family offices that are in the impact investing sector have?
Great question. Well, we definitely see that there is some consistency or commonality in the processes that families are going through in order to design and implement their impact strategies. There is incredible diversity in what those strategies actually are and the kinds of investments that families are making. You know, my family is making early stage direct investments in clean technology companies in the United States. Other families are lending money to smallholder farmer cooperatives in Southeast Asia, and other families are building sustainable real estate. Those are very different kinds of investments, but what's constant or consistent is the process, I think, that families are going through. Again, the work of defining their motivations, their guiding lights, translating those motivations into objectives, finding the right team, of advisors or family office staff to build and implement the strategy, struggling to figure out how to measure and manage impact, trying to find the right deal flow. So the process is consistent, though the investments themselves are very diverse. I think just to add, the one thing that is consistent about, I think, all families who are making impact investments is that they have decided to care about what their money is doing in the world. And that is a thing which in reality, a lot of families have stopped doing over the last several decades because of how the financial industry has developed and the way the wealth management industry works. A lot of families are pushed away from what they are invested in and what impact it is having in the world. And so the starting point, I think, for so many families that are doing this is just the experience of awakening to the possibility that I can be connected, or we as a family can be connected to what our investments are doing. The recognition that our investments are an expression of who we are and what we believe and what world we want to live in. And they want to recreate that sense of connectedness, that sense of identity that I think definitely existed once upon a time, but has been lost over the last several decades.
Yeah, it's a great message to think in families making impact investment as a way to communicate their identity, right?
Yeah.
So you were talking during your presentation, you talk about the impact and the great work that you are doing. So I would like to ask you more about collaboration. Why is important collaboration for families, and what kind of experience of collaboration do you have through the impact or outside that?
Wonderful question. Thank you.
Right.
To me, to us at the Impact, collaboration is absolutely essential. And we focus on three distinct kinds of collaboration. The first is collaborative learning, just the day-to-day experience of families openly sharing who they are, what they're doing, why they're doing it, what successes they're having, and what failures they are having. Most families are struggling because they are trying to do impact investing on their own, behind closed doors. And that's really hard. So the first kind of collaboration that's essential is just collaborative learning, to understand more deeply both what the process, again, to build an impact investment strategy looks like, but also the work, the biggest social and environmental issues that we are trying to address with our impact investments are complex and systemic in nature. No family can understand everything there is to know about climate change or inequality, for example. We have to rely on the wisdom and the expertise and the experience of others in order to build our own understanding. So collaborative learning first. Second, I think, is collaboration to help build an experiment in the impact investing space. There aren't enough companies, there aren't enough funds, there are big gaps in the marketplace that we need families to be working with each other in order to fill. And there's, I think, few things more delightful in life than building something with others. And so we want to be supporting families actually to build things within the impact investing space. And the market needs that. Lastly is what we call collective influence or advocacy. The reality is that no family in the world, even the wealthiest family, does not have enough money or even enough influence to really drive the kind of systemic change that we need to actually address the most important challenges that we face. So we have to work in partnership with others in order to amplify our voice, in order to amplify the systemic impact that we can have. So one thing we have focused on within the impact is actually mobilizing families collectively to engage the financial institutions that they are clients of, to make clear to the banks, for example, that we as clients care about the way you as a bank are financing fossil fuel companies or are incorporating climate risk into your your client portfolios, or the way you are approaching hiring and training and empowering women within your workforce. Whatever the issue is, families can be stepping up collectively to make their voice heard in order to drive change within these larger institutions that play such a critical, again, systemic role in the marketplace and in the broader world.
Great. I love this approach to that families can be drivers of systemic change in the financial industry and in general in the world. So we have a question from our audience. Beatriz asked us if, well, she knows that the impact only accepts families by invitation. So she's wondering, what are the membership requirements? What are you asking for families to join?
I think the most important thing is, I think the most essential characteristic of the impact as a whole and the families who are a part of it is shared values. We are a community. Communities gather around shared values. So we are looking for families who, in many ways, above all else, are excited about the work of collaboration, who want to learn with each other, who want to share, who want to build things with each other, who recognize that we all have much that we can learn from each other, and we also have much that we can teach. Every family has its particular wisdom, its particular experience that it can offer up to others. So really the most essential criteria is demonstration of the shared values of the community, the desire to build relationship, to share and learn openly and honestly with peers, and then in the time and space that's appropriate, to collaborate, to create new things together. Not every family is into that kind of, highly relational, highly interactive space, but that's what we're really trying to build as a community.
Great. So finally, I wanted to ask you, how do you envision the future of impact investing, and how is the role that families and individuals play on that future?
So one line that I think often gets said in the impact investing world is that we're all looking forward to a future where we no longer call impact investing, we just call it investing. That the practice that today, the practice of incorporating social and environmental goals or social and environmental data into investment decisions is just the new normal. That's the baseline standard that dominates the financial industry or the culture of finance and business worldwide. And so I do believe that that's the future that we are headed for. It's just a question of whether we will get there fast enough. So that's the starting point. And the way that we think about this and like to talk about this at the Impact is the necessity of simultaneously raising the floor and raising the ceiling as well. So we are trying to raise the floor of finance by making, again, what we call today impact investing, just the new standard of conventional investment worldwide. We also need to be raising the ceiling as well. It won't be good enough if even as wonderful as ESG screened public equity funds are, or as wonderful as large scale impact focused private equity funds can be, it's not enough. We do need much more innovation, much more experimentation. We need totally new forms of financial structures, new technologies, new models of investment if we want to address, again, the scope, the scale, the complexity of the social and environmental challenges that we face. So we have to be simultaneously raising the minimum standard and working collaboratively to create models of investment that do not exist yet today. And again, that's where the work of families is so indispensable in our ability to work collaboratively on the frontiers, on the edges of the market to create new things that don't yet exist today.
Great. I think it's a great message to finish this event, this webinar, because you know, the idea that impact investing is going to become the mainstream way to invest and in the financing industry, and especially the need to innovate on financial mechanisms is a very important message to give to the audience. So I would like to thank you, Sam, because valuable information that you provide to us. I think it has been a great content, and thank you so much. I want to thank Sam and all the attendees on behalf of the Social Nest Foundation team. And for those of you who own or manage capital and have the interest of the experience working in sustainable and impact investing, I'm looking forward to seeing you in our FI Annual Forum in September 21. See you soon.